God. Holy lag, Batman. All right, go for templated cheap 10 billies. Highest dishonor. Highest dishonor is not looking good, boys. Not looking good for them at all. Not looking good.
It's funny as hell.
It's coming fourth quarter. What's in your pockets? Which pockets? Good question. Let's Rockcat. Don't shoot me. I'm Kobe. Thanks for following. Welcome to the fleet, guys. Appreciate it. There's a trailer for PUBG for Xbox on YouTube. Yep. It's coming out. It's coming. Ruby Monster, thank you so much for following. 57% yes. Redemption approved. Redemption round templated cheap 10 billies. Gotta make it happen now. I gotta make it happen now. If not, never. That was a funk landing. I got a UMP. I got nothing. There he is, guys. We found Waldo. I take it. Thanks for the follow, man. Who tips 100? Goddamn. My buddy got tipped 300 bucks. My boy Glitchy's got a freaking hell of a donation. Like 500 bucks. 600 donations. I don't know what. Yeah. You gotta remember. That watch next year and are probably like top 45. Just don't know.
Yeah, I'm a fool. Skill education on people. So you get this Final Fantasy 14 and our Sims 4.
How you deal with a patron largely affects whether or not they're going to return to your establishment. You can help ensure your guests have a pleasant experience. Offering a wide variety of beverage choices, both alcohol and alcohol-free, welcomes and accommodates a larger part of the community. On-premises establishments should promote food, not just have it available. Educating guests about beverage choices and accepting those choices creates a safe social gathering place. Off-premises establishments should also offer information about
We skip the boring stuff.
the
We get to
owners
the
of the
text.
establishment through business policies
Right.
and practices, and
Important to
you
know all
as the
this stuff.
point of customer contact are in complete control of the sales transaction. You have a right and obligation given a certain set of circumstances to serve or not to serve. In the case of off-premises selling situations, the decision is concrete and absolute. The on-premises consumption decision is initially concrete and absolute, but over a period of time becomes clouded by many circumstances and requires using substantial good judgment. The initial decision to sell or not to sell alcoholic beverages should be relatively straightforward. Based on the discussions thus far, you have a legal and moral obligation not to sell or serve underage people or those who are intoxicated. Being a professional begins with developing a trusting relationship with the customer. Following are how some people exercise professional service. Being a professional also means being ethical and moral, and following the law. Avoiding service and sales to intoxicated persons or underage people is in the best interest of the customer, the owner, and yourself. Experienced managers know the way to achieve these objectives is to have established sales and service procedures that are learned and practiced. Effective service in the hospitality industry requires significant product knowledge, but beyond that, an ability to gain the trust and respect of the customer so that they will take advice when necessary. Essentially, this means that you need to be in a position of professional control of customer behaviors. Answer the following questions. Lesson 2.
Excuse me.
Establishment safety. Cautious and responsible beverage alcohol service is mandatory in today's retail industry. Safety is a large part of being cautious and responsible. To achieve establishment safety, you need to avoid potentially harmful situations by not overserving customers. Know the procedures for dealing with situations when they do occur.
Check out that boy. Get it. Family friendly.
Customer disturbances or fights in an establishment are a concern in the beverage alcohol service and sales industry. Disturbances are much more likely to occur when people become intoxicated. TAM encourages a preventive strategy as protection. Answer the following question. Lesson 3. Signs of intoxication. No two individuals react to alcohol in exactly the same way. You, as a seller of beverage alcohol, have to know the signs of. Look for a combination of signs. Learning to quickly recognize the signs of intoxication will assist in both the initial decision to serve or sell, as well as intermediate decisions to prevent on-premise. Take a moment to review the chart below to gain a better understanding of the signs of increasing intoxication. Generally, the first sign that someone is becoming intoxicated is lowered inhibitions.
Signs of intoxication. Alcohol affects everybody in different ways, but there are many signs that can help you figure out if a person has had too much. This is important because if you sell to or serve someone who's intoxicated, you are breaking the law. I'm not kidding. It's illegal. Take a look at these guys and try to spot them yourself. Some of the signs can be pretty obvious. The guy with the loose tongue, he's staggering, his eyes are bloodshot, he's having trouble holding things, he's loud, he looks like a mess, and I bet he smells alcohol. The trick is to look for a combination of signs. Any one of these on their own may be due to something else beside alcohol. Don't rush to conclusions. It could be embarrassing for everyone.
Answer the following question. Lesson 4. The SIR On-Premises Program. SIR is an acronym for a proactive serving strategy that can be used for all situations. It is based on the following 3 ideas. Size up the customer. Interview before every drink order. Rate before serving. Step 1. Size up the customer. The first thing you must do with every customer is to approach and greet them with a smile. Take a good look at the person and size up the individual. In doing so, you are making an initial decision as to whether the guest should be served beverage alcohol. Click on each of the steps to learn more. When you size up the customer, you are making an initial decision as to whether the guest should be served beverage alcohol. Is the customer old enough? Sober? Male or female? Small, medium, or large? Muscular or fatty body type? Assuming that the guest is old enough to consume and is not impaired, the next concern is how many drinks this patron can consume over a period of time without becoming intoxicated. Experienced servers can accomplish such observations instantly without making a patron feel uncomfortable or that they're being watched. An important part of responsible service is acquiring these skills by using BAC charts and methods of calculating the amount a person can consume without becoming intoxicated.
Size up. This is when you, the server, make an early decision on whether a new arrival should be served alcohol. You're looking at physical appearance. Let's watch an example.
Oh, I know. Why don't we do the party? I think that. Good evening.
Hi.
Greetings, my friend.
Okay, hold it there. What sizing up did you do? If you're like this bartender, you're always nice and friendly and very subtle. You should have noticed the man was a little louder than normal, was a medium-sized build, and is certainly above the legal drinking age. His companion also appears well over 21, is small, but she doesn't look affected by alcohol. Back to the man. He may have been drinking. Let's show the scene again and look for other signs of intoxication.
Oh, okay.
So what do you think, that Tony make a fool out of himself
I
at the
think
party?
he did. Well, lots of fools.
Good evening.
Hi.
Greetings, my friend.
He's loud, a little overly friendly, but walking okay and not slurring words. The big question, do you serve him alcohol? It's too early to tell.
The interview is the next step before you serve alcohol to a guest. TAM recommends that if the patron looks under the age of 30, you should ask for identification. Each establishment should have a guideline for employees that states when they must check for valid identification. When you are interviewing the guest, you may determine the need to check ID.
Nigga hit him with the frying pan. That's funny as fuck. Oh shit, that was fucking dope. Yeah, with the frying pan that killed him.
You must talk with the patron to create a friendly atmosphere and a feeling of trust. When asking questions, phrase them to lead to a conversation, not just one-word answers. During the conversation, look directly at the patron. Are the eyes bloodshot, glassy, or dilated? Listen to the customer's answers. Was your question understood? Is the answer in a normal tone of voice? Is the posture steady? Find out if the customer has had anything to eat, and if so, how long ago, and what. And if you suspect that the guest has been consuming alcohol, you may need to ask more questions.
Good slap.
Some questions you might want to ask are, hi, how's your luck been today? How have things been going at the tables or slots? Get them to talk about themselves. How are they feeling? Are they taking medication? What type of mood are they in? What have you been doing today? How did you like that show? Try to find out what they've been doing, and if they...
Interview. This is a brief chat between the server and the customer, and should be very subtle.
You guys seem happy? Had a good day? Guy, we had a great day. And the funny thing,
We went to an office party.
hope it was outside. What a beautiful day.
Actually, it was inside.
Inside, outside, who cares? It's all about being with the people who matter to you most. Am I right?
Okay, stop there. That was an interview. From that small conversation, the bartender has a much better idea of who he's dealing with. Let's go through the facts. The couple have been out already this evening, and may have been drinking since early afternoon. The woman is polite and responsive, and doesn't appear to be affected by alcohol. The man is showing several signs of being affected by alcohol. He looks a little blurry-eyed, a little unsteady, but nothing too dramatic. The bartender was polite, maintained eye contact, and didn't probe. He had sized them up. He's interviewed.
Here's a scenario. It's the middle of your shift at Tam Street, a local bar and grill. A young couple who appear to be in their late 20s walks into the restaurant around dinner time and takes a seat at the bar. How do you start this transaction? Why don't you bring us a couple of glasses of your house red? We're celebrating our anniversary tonight. Well, that's flattering. We've been married 10 years. Here you go.
We were just at that new martini bar. That's a really nice new place.
Mine was good, but he went only for the jazz.
No thanks. We would prefer to wait for our table. We're having dinner here.
Here you go, 2 glasses of our house red. Let me know when I could get you something else.
Say.
Each time the customer... Rating refers to establishing a pace of drinking that prevents the customer from becoming intoxicated. The easiest system to remember is the colors of a traffic light. These colors stand for customers who are rated red, refuse to
Ooh,
serve, or
nice.
stop alcoholic beverage service immediately and remove all alcohol. Yellow, cautionary period. Green, okay to serve. Each time the customer orders another drink, you must re-rate the customer. When a customer is in the green zone, you can safely serve them alcohol. Keeping track of a customer's drinks is a good way to prevent intoxication. Re-rating is particularly important when the customer has entered the yellow zone. You need to prevent the customer from passing over the line into the red zone. You must halt service once a customer enters the red zone. Preventing customers from becoming intoxicated while they continue to enjoy their stay.
Let's give the bartender a choice of 3 ratings. Green means the customer is sober and clear to be served alcohol. Yellow means they're still okay, but need to be watched. Red, no alcohol to be served. So, how would you rate our couple? Let's watch. That's right, sir. Friends are important. You're right. And to celebrate, can I have a beer?
Yeah, just a water for me.
For a celebration, you should have a special drink. How about one of our fruit cocktails? I go for cranberry twist, cranberry juice, lime juice, and seltzer.
Actually, that sounds pretty good. I'll take one of those.
Where's some booze in that? Okay, doesn't need it. Trust me. How about some wings and fries?
Hey, fries sound really good, okay? But let's stick with a beer, okay?
A beer, a cranberry twist, and 2 waters coming up. Okay, stop there. Can you guess the ratings? Yep, the lady gets a green, the man gets a yellow. The bartender has decided the man is okay to keep drinking, but he suggested food and will give him water to try and slow his alcohol consumption. It's important to monitor the situation too, and the bartender will re-rate both customers each time he speaks with them.
Let's see how you would rate one customer over the course of an evening. You are one of many bartenders at Tam Tam, a trendy dance club. When you are ready to be... A young woman with a small build approaches you and orders a Long Island iced tea. You check her ID, and after interviewing her, you determine that she just arrived at Tam Tam and has not been drinking today. How would you rate this customer? For the next half hour or so, you notice your customer sipping on her drink and dancing with friends. She returns and orders a second drink from you. Hey, cutie, can I get a screwdriver? And this time, could you make it a double? How would you rate this customer? The club is starting to fill up, and it becomes difficult to keep tabs on this customer. About an hour and a half later, she returns to the bar, stumbling slightly to make her way through the crowd. She is clearly feeling the effects of her last drink. Her eyes are glassy, and she is having trouble making eye contact with you. Have I told you that you are the sexiest bartender ever? Can we fill up my drink pretty please? How would you rate this customer? It is later in the night. You have not seen your customer for quite some time. Unbeknownst to you, your customer has been served drinks by someone else. She is now drowsy and nearly passed out at the bar. What should you do? Part of SIR involves monitoring the combination of timing of food and beverage alcohol to slow down intoxication. There is only one way to regulate a customer's BAC, and that is to control the rate at which alcohol enters the. You can accomplish this by suggesting that the customer have something to eat. To be most effective in slowing down absorption, food must be consumed immediately before and consistently during the consumption of alcohol. Food and water dilute the concentration of alcohol in the stomach, and food keeps the alcohol in the stomach longer. Do not increase the pace of serving alcohol simply because a customer is eating. Suggest alcohol-free beverages and serve water to You need to re-rate your customers every time they order a drink, especially if they are in the yellow zone. A responsible server must understand that intoxication begins with the first drink consumed. A customer's rating passes from green to yellow with such recognizable signs as lowered inhibitions, relaxation, and becoming sociable. As the BAC increases, these behaviors intensify. Despite everyone's best efforts, there are occasions when a patron becomes intoxicated. When the customer is in the red zone, the house policy for procedures involving intoxicated customers should be followed from this point forward. There should be no more sales or service of alcohol to this customer. Also, the customer should not be allowed to consume any more alcohol. You should proceed to ma'am, and all personnel working on the premises should be made immediately aware of the situation. Please review these suggestions for servers. Please review these suggestions for management. Answer the following questions. Lesson 5. The SIR Off-Premises Program. SIR can also be used as a proactive. Step 1. Greet each customer with a smile. Take a good look at the person and size up the individual. In doing so, you are making an initial assessment as to whether the customer is of age and is not intoxicated. Most sizing up will be done at the cash register, but you can evaluate a situation anywhere in the store. Click Step 2. If you suspect a problem with the sale after you have sized up the situation, use the interview step to check out your suspicions. Getting the customer to talk can help you find out if there is really a problem. You need to make sure that the customer is not intoxicated. You should be familiar with the signs of intoxication and use them to size up the patron. Visibly intoxicated customers usually can be spotted right away. However, a person may be intoxicated and not show visible signs without interviewing them.
Nice day, isn't it? Sure wish I were outside.
Well, it'll be nice soon.
Oh, you having a party?
Yeah, just got finished with work. Now it's time to relax.
It's nothing like spending some time with some friends.
Oh, especially with some nice cold ones like these.
I understand what you're saying. Listen, man, will there be anything else? Some potato chips or something?
No, I've got all that I need right here. Thanks.
Okay. The clerk has sized her up, interviewed, and rated. The woman is clearly not intoxicated. And you have no way of knowing if this case of beer will last the rest of the afternoon or the rest of the month.
That's 11.
There's nothing the clerk can or should do.
You work as a cashier at the local grocer. You notice a man in the wine department. He stops one of your colleagues and asks a few questions. When he arrives at the register, what should you do to size up the customer? You notice that the customer's eyes do look a little red, and he seems really talkative. He unloads the rest of his grocery cart and hands you his credit card. You notice that he has a case of beer and a bottle of whiskey that you didn't see earlier. What should you do? It is later in the evening and entirely possible that he has already been drinking. He's chewing gum, so it's hard to tell if he smells of alcohol. You'll need to interview this customer in order to determine whether it's lawful to continue with the sale. Sizing up an underage customer or improper ID can take a little longer and also requires an interview. TAB recommends that you ask for identification if the patron looks under the age of 30. Each establishment should have a guideline for employees that states when they must check for valid identification. You should also be aware that the customer may be purchasing alcoholic beverages for underage people. Some alcohol-related problem situations can be sized up immediately. The employees of an off-premises establishment that is open before or after the legal hours for the sale of alcoholic beverages must always be aware of the time of the sale. Many times, it will be necessary to use the interview step to rate whether the sale is legal or not. Answer the following questions. If you suspect a problem with the sale after you have sized up the situation, use the interview step to check out your suspicions. Getting the customer to talk can help you find out if there really is a problem. The following questions are examples of what you might ask yourself while interviewing the customer. Does the customer sound underage? Is the customer nervous? Are answers about identification answered correctly? Is speech slurred? Avoid asking questions that customers can answer with a yes or no. Use open-ended questions like, "This is a lot of beer. What's the occasion?" What's going on with those kids you spoke to in the parking lot? The idea is to get people talking to you so you can find out if there really is a problem. Interviewing your customers is not that complicated. With a little practice, you'll be doing it without even realizing it.
What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again now. Yeah. Who? Where?
Once the customer has been sized up and interviewed, the situation must be rated to make a decision to go ahead with the sale or not. The result is either green, okay to sell, or red, not okay to sell. Green. A sale of alcoholic beverages can be legally made if SIR shows that the ID is acceptable and valid. The customer is of legal age. The customer is not intoxicated. The customer is not buying alcohol for underage persons. There is no time or day restriction in effect on alcohol sales. If SIR has been used correctly and the result is red, it is not okay to sell alcohol. Proceed to the next step of TAM. Ma'am.
Hey, baby. Drink your water.
Gotta put your ass outside.
Answer the following questions. Lesson 6. Ma'am. Ma'am applies to both on and off-premises establishments. If SIR has turned up a problem, you want to solve it quickly, quietly, and legally without embarrassing or concerning other customers, disrupting business, or leaving yourself open for trouble. Ma'am will help you do this. The steps for ma'am include the following. Step 1. Move the alcohol out of the customer's reach. Step 2. Attitude must be friendly, but firm. Step 3. Assert the law and store policy. Step 4. Move on to other customers or other work and possibly manager notification.
Move, attitude, assert, and move on. Catchy, isn't it? Let's see how it works.
Hi there. Are you okay?
Great. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. Having a good day.
Not too bad. I had some friends over.
Sounds like fun.
It has been. I haven't seen him since college.
Okay, well, hold it there. Now, the clerk has used sir, and it's pretty easy to see this lady is intoxicated. This is where ma'am comes in. The first M stands for move. That means move the alcohol across the counter and away from the customer. But make sure you're subtle.
Ma'am, might I suggest some soft drinks or something?
Nope. Just the wine. Thanks.
Okay.
Look, my mirror. I've been looking for this everywhere. Isn't this a cool bag? Isn't it great?
The next letter in ma'am is M, which stands for attitude. It's important you stay friendly and fair, but also firm. Your attitude has a big impact on the customer's reaction.
That is a very pretty man.
You're so sweet. Now, how much do I owe you?
Ma'am, I don't think I can sell you this wine.
Well, why? Is there something wrong with it? I mean, I have money.
The next A in M stands for assert. This is where you explain store policy and the law.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's against the law for me to sell alcohol to anyone who's intoxicated.
Who says I'm inoculated? I mean, interrelated. You know what I mean, damn it.
Ma'am, if I sold this bottle of wine to you, I'd be breaking the law, and I could lose my job. Now you do understand, don't you?
The last letter in ma'am stands for move on. This means don't stand around arguing with the customer.
So is there anything
Quickly
else I
and
can do?
politely move on to something else.
No, I don't.
Okay, then. Well, if you'll excuse me, I have some other things to do. Please, have a nice day.
As soon as you have rated the situation as red, no more alcohol should be sold to or consumed by the patron. Move the alcohol away with a smooth, confident motion. Take it from the sales counter or table and move it out of sight. Often the customer will leave without protest when the alcohol is moved out of reach and sight. Moving the alcohol away can prevent possible theft or violence. A beer bottle or glass can be used as a weapon. It also ends arguments in many situations. When you are moving the alcohol away, be careful never to touch the customer. As you move the alcohol out of reach and sight, your attitude must be firm and decisive. You want the customer to know that you are in control. However, you must be fair and professional when you are refusing a sale or removing alcohol from the customer. You want to maintain the customer's respect and future business. Always keep your temper in check, no matter how uncomfortable the situation might become. When you are refusing a sale, you need to explain your action to the customer. Do this by asserting the law and your establishment's policy. You should let your customers know that you care about their safety and want them to return in the future.
They hit him all fucking Knoxes, bro. And give us not one fucking Knox. You gotta be fucking kidding me. I like that game mode. It's kind of fun. It's just annoying. What's up, baby? I know. For a try run, but we got about 3 knocks on our team. Should be good to go. I told him I snake.
purchase and consumption of alcohol is a serious problem nationwide, and the consequences of an underage purchase can be serious. As a server, you can be held criminally and civilly liable for selling to a minor. Every establishment needs policies and procedures to prevent underage persons from obtaining alcohol and tobacco products. You have a responsibility to ask for identification if there is any question about the age of the customer. At the end of this module, you will be able to do the following. In this module, we will cover the following lessons. Lesson 1. Do the math. You have a responsibility to ask for identification if there is any question about the age of the customer. But a common mistake is failing to do the math. Some people assume if someone shows them an ID, then they must be of legal age. Always look at the ID and add 21 to the year of birth. If the new date is after today's date, the person is not old enough to purchase alcoholic beverages. For example, add 21 to May 3rd, 2018, and it becomes May 3rd, 2039. Ask yourself, is that before or after today's date?
Don't make no fucking sense. It ain't 2013, it's 2017.
Lesson 2. Valid identification. Valid identification must be government issued. Examples of valid identification include passport, driver's licenses, and state identification cards can include a variety of security features that make them more difficult to tamper with or forge. Scroll over highlighted areas to learn more. Some states use a vertical license layout to identify those under 21. Nevada's digitized driver licenses use the latest in technology and are the most secure the state has ever issued. They include a 2D barcode, digitized image and signature, and a host of new security features. One of the more prominent changes are the new licenses issued to drivers under 21. These are printed in a vertical format and include a bright yellow bar indicating the date the bearer will turn 21. These features will help retailers and others immediately recognize underage customers. For more information, click on the link provided. Roll over each item to review the different types of licenses in Nevada.
These niggas. That's what's up, though. Oh.
The interim document issued at the DMV office is pictured here. Since this is not valid for identification, it is important that the motorist keeps any existing license or ID or Let's make certain you are familiar with a typical license identification layout. Drag and drop the pieces back together to solve this jigsaw puzzle. You can use the spacebar to rotate a puzzle piece in a different direction.
Why? How about y'all fucking retreat?
Hold on a minute, Mom. What you doing
Hmm?
now? What you doing now?
The same thing.
Hmm?
The same thing.
What is that? Oh, the test?
No, it's the well, yes, the thing.
Why they give you somebody else not eating?
Answer the following question.
I'm almost finished though. Definitely the first one.
Lesson 3. Diligent Inquiry. Diligent inquiry is a truly dedicated effort to establish beyond a doubt that the potential customer is of legal age to purchase, possess, or consume alcoholic beverages. The burden of proof lies with the customer, but the responsibility not to serve a person under the age of 21 is the server's alone. Failing to ask for identification and not doing the math correctly are the most common reasons for the sale and service of alcoholic beverages to an underage person. diligent inquiry begins as soon as you make eye contact with a customer, when you greet them, and you are sizing them up. Are they clearly of legal age, or do you need to check their ID? Clearly of legal age means they look older than the age your management wants you to check. TAM recommends you check everyone that appears to be under 30 years of age. If you need to check their ID, have them remove it from their wallet or billfold and hand it to you. If the patron will not let you hold the ID, they are preventing you from making a diligent inquiry, and you should refuse service. Hold the identification card in your hand and look at it carefully in sufficient light to see it clearly. Check the back and front of the ID. Is it intact, or does it appear to have been tampered with? If it appears to have been tampered with, you should refuse service. If it is intact, check for security features. Are you familiar with the type of identification? If not, use the ID checking guide to make sure the ID is authentic. Be sure to check the back of the ID for a statement such as, "For novelty use only." Take the time to accurately calculate the person's age. Does it match the person? If there is a question, you should request a backup identification. Have the person sign their name and see if the signature matches. If the patron does not comply, refuse service. If the person standing in front of you does not resemble the identification, refuse service. If you are sure it is the person and the ID is genuine and indicates the person is over 21, it is safe to serve the customer as long as they are not intoxicated. As you go through these steps, evaluate the person's overall attitude and demeanor. If people avoid eye contact, act nervous, cocky, over-friendly, defensive, arrogant, or exhibit other suspicious behavior, they may be hiding something. Use good common sense. Trust your instincts, and if in doubt, refuse service. Don't be afraid to ask questions. you are unsure about the age of the person or that the ID presented is authentic, you should request other forms of familiar identification for further verification. Usually, people attempting to use false IDs will not have other identification printed with the same information as the one presented. Watch closely as they flip through their wallet for another form of ID. Do you see another driver's license? Do you see another name on credit cards? Do they have a thick wallet or large purse, yet claim to not have any other identification with them? In on-premises establishments, the door manager may check IDs for admittance, but you must check again before serving alcohol. Always remember, it's you who is liable, along with the owner, when there is service of alcohol to underage persons. ID scanning technology to determine valid identification has become very popular and is used in many businesses. With a simple swipe of almost any piece of official identification and an electronic age
Wait a minute, Mom. Hold on a minute. I did. Hold on a second. Oh, so you doing it? How you doing on it?
Yeah, I'm almost done.
Oh,
I
okay.
made 225 out of 300.
Oh, okay. 225 out of 300?
Mm-hmm.
That good?
You said, is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah, that means I'm almost done.
I guess you know, huh?
Turn this fucking shit off. Turn on hard. Man, fuck these niggas. I don't care about this damn hater. This Ragnarok is talking about. Man, fuck this. I want it all. I bets it all. False teeth. Boy. Oh, I'm a high stakes gambler. Let's do this. You can find me my money.
Congratulations. As a professional in the hospitality industry, you want to create a comfortable and safe environment for your customers. Customers want to enjoy themselves without being harassed or annoyed by others. Despite efforts to maintain a pleasant environment in your establishment, on occasion there may be disturbances. You must know how to intervene when necessary to defuse an escalating situation. You always have the obligation to help the customer act responsibly. At the end of this module, you will be able to do the following.
Oh, shit.
In this module, we will cover the following lessons.
I don't care.
Lesson 1. A hospitable environment. People make decisions about where to go based upon their perception of the environment, quality of food and service, and to be with other people. They want to go someplace they feel safe and comfortable. It is important to consider this when creating a hospitable atmosphere. Creating a hospitable environment begins on the outside. Every parking area should have good lighting, be clean, well maintained, and have signs detailing parking policies and procedures. Loitering should not be permitted, and everyone should be alert for drug and gang activity that may be happening. Both management and staff play an important role in creating the image of the establishment. When patrons visit, they want to have a good time, but they don't want to be annoyed or harassed. If there is a disturbance, they want to know the staff will immediately respond. It is the responsibility of management to clearly define the policies and procedures for staff to follow.
Bitch asked me, who are you?
Answer
Bitch,
the
read my
following
profile. It's
questions.
public. Sorry for my French. I forgot it's family broadcast. Management.
Lesson 2. Conflict prevention. The rights of all customers need to be respected. Foul language, unwelcome advances, intrusions into their personal space, very loud or obnoxious behavior and arguments are disturbing to customers. You must do everything possible to prevent a fight or disturbance. This includes eavesdropping on all conversations at your tables or the bar area you serve. Pay close attention to everything going on at all times. It is much easier to stop a fight or disturbance before it starts. Notice the signs that trouble might be starting and take immediate action to prevent it. If there is security staff, they should be very visible and circulate within the establishment. This creates a more comfortable environment for the customers when they know that someone is paying attention to possible trouble. Watching for intoxication should be a priority for all personnel.
Of course it is.
Before an argument actually starts, intervene in a professional manner and explain that swearing, yelling, fighting, etc. is not allowed in this establishment. Both parties should be told that they will have to leave if the behavior continues. They also should be told that from now on they will be monitored. The goal is to prevent any type of disturbance from happening. It is the employee's responsibility to problem solve and prevent fights. People who have been identified as problems need to be constantly monitored, asked to leave, or even prohibited from entering. Employees should always work together to create a trouble-free environment for customers and fellow employees. Answer the following question.
Full terms.
Lesson 3. Disturbances happen. Despite the best efforts, a patron disturbance may occur. Disturbances are destructive in several respects. There can be personal injuries, physical damage, and damage to the reputation of the establishment. Communicate with coworkers before intervening with disruptive customers. In the event the person resists your intervention, coworkers will be better prepared to assist you. Be responsive when patrons become loud and aggressive. Usually, arguments precede physical fighting, and intervening at or before the argument stage is essential.
Come on.
In order to calm a potentially violent customer, you should not argue with the customer, not raise your voice. Keep cool and do not allow yourself to become involved in the argument. Do not take sides. Be firm. Apologize for anything that might have upset the customer. And have other staff remove bottles, pool sticks, and other potential weapons.
The vast majority of adults who choose to drink do so responsibly. But every so often, someone will get intoxicated and get into a situation where a disturbance may occur. I want to remind you about an earlier scene. When last we saw these two, she was sober, he was rated a yellow in the SIR system, someone who may be on the way to intoxication. He was given a beer, and that has pushed him into the red rating. My job sucks.
Half an hour ago, you loved your job.
Half an hour ago, I was stupid. Now I'm thirsty. Hey, buddy, can I get another beer? Can I get another beer?
Maybe we should go home now.
I want another beer.
I think you've had a little too much to drink.
Oh, now you tell me what to think? Hey, bar guy, can I get a beer, please? Just a minute, sir. I'm just serving another customer. Do I look like I care? Look, I just want a beer. It'll take you 2 seconds. Could I have a quick word with you, please? What can I get, my dear? Well, I think you and I should have a quick chat. Okay? Ma'am, I've taken the liberty of calling a cab for both of you. Just thought it might make it a little easier for you. I don't need a cab. I need a beer.
I'm so sorry.
There's nothing to be sorry about, ma'am. We appreciate your business, and if you don't mind, my friend, I would love to give you a hand out to the cab. Are you kicking me out? No, sir. You are always welcome.
Thank you so much. Come on, baby.
Okay, let's do this.
If any of the parties continue to act defensively or persist in carrying on the argument, the person should be asked to leave. If the person refuses to leave, the police should be called. The person can be charged with trespassing. Never imply that the parties take it outside. If it appears that the situation may escalate, try to get the patrons to leave separately. You do not want them to resume their confrontation outside the establishment, since your liability may extend to the parking lot.
I'm almost finished.
Employees can use reasonable force to stop a fight. This is difficult to define, but might include pulling the people away from each other. Employees should never use excessive force when dealing with a disturbance. Throwing someone out of the door onto the pavement, hitting someone, or throwing them into a wall is excessive force. Always avoid physical contact with anyone in a fight unless it is absolutely necessary to break it up. The participants should only be restrained. Remember to make sure that you do not deal with violent situations by yourself. Always let coworkers and managers know what is going on at all times. Communication is crucial. Management and you have the legal and moral obligation to protect all of your customers. When a fight does break out, you must ensure that the other customers are protected from what is happening. The establishment could be held liable for damages and injuries if no effort has been made to get the other customers to safety. This also means keeping other customers from becoming part of the disturbance. The use of excessive force against any patron can also make the establishment liable for damages and injuries. All patrons need to be protected, even the ones causing the disturbance. A very effective method is to repeat over and over again exactly what it is that you wish to be done. The method is called the broken record method. It is called this because you should sound like a broken record that skips and plays the exact same thing over and over. Yes, thank you for understanding. Now, could we make our way to the door, please? Repeat, repeat, and repeat until it is accomplished. It is crucial to this technique that you do not waver. You should keep repeating until what you are saying is accomplished. It is important, therefore, to realize your request should be polite and easy enough for the customer to accomplish. You are working as a server at the local town bar and grill. Every so often you have to deal with disruptive customers. Click the next arrow to answer some questions on how you would deal with these disruptions. notice that a group at one of your tables is starting to get loud, and a couple of the customers are becoming quite aggressive. Before returning to your table to address the situation, what should you do first? As you return to the table to check on things, two customers in the group are starting to raise their voices and appear to be heading towards a heated argument. What should you do in this situation? After trying to calm the two customers, you notice that despite your best efforts to speak reasonably to them about the situation, their argument continues to escalate, and they start shoving one another. What should you do at this point? The two arguing customers refuse to leave and continue to argue among themselves. They are starting to push one another. It does not appear that you alone. Answer the following questions.
Oh, the SWAT team. That's funny as fuck. Shit up. And yo-yo. Check it out.
Lesson 4. The STOP program. In the event of a problem in an establishment, such as an intoxicated or violent customer or a theft, TAM has developed STOP. Stay in the establishment. Temper control. Observe details. Post details in the daily log. Stay in the establishment. Don't go after the customer. You do not want to leave the establishment unattended or place yourself at risk of possible violent reactions from customers or others. Click on E. Temper control. Stay calm and don't raise your voice. Avoid insults and arguments. State the law. Never touch a customer. And remember your limits and the limits of your authority.
Stop. S stands for stay. T means temper control. O stands for observe. And P means post. Let's use our old friends to demonstrate. When we left this pair, the clerk was moving on after politely refusing to sell the intoxicated customer any alcohol.
No, I don't
Okay,
think
then, well, if you'll excuse me, I have some other things to do. Please, have a nice day.
So what am I supposed to do now? I'm talking to you, you big dummy.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I thought you were just thinking out loud.
Are you calling me stupid? How dare you?
Oh, no, ma'am. I'm not calling you stupid. It's just that I have some other things to do, like I said. So, if you don't mind.
Hey. So that's stop. The S means stay in the store. Don't run after thieves police or anyone else, it increases the risk of something bad happening.
Yes,
P
sir.
relates to temper.
I'd like to
The
report.
clerk didn't get angry. This is crucial. You should never react to anything the customer says. Always stay calm and professional. O means observe. Try to remember details about the person, the situation, and the vehicle they may be driving. And P means both post and sometimes police. Write down incidents like this, and in some cases, call the police.
Let's review the material by playing a game. Follow the directions on the next page to play. You will make 3 selections for each step that is presented.
What can I say? I'm fucking awesome.
Lesson 5. Establish policies for handling violent situations. Every business should have a policy for handling violent situations. It should be written, and all employees should be familiar with the policy, sign for it, and use it for all occasions that occur. Having steps in place to prevent violence from happening will reduce the incidence of physical violence. All employees that were involved or observed the incident should immediately complete a report while it is fresh in their minds. Make sure that all of the pertinent
Hey, how you doing? I want to speak with Christo. Oh yeah, yeah. I'll give her a call back. All right, thank you.
detailed as possible in case there is litigation or a violation as a result of the incident. Please review the following examples of incident entries. Here are some suggestions for employees. are some suggestions for management. Answer the following question. Lesson 6. Customer responsibility. In a perfect world, underage people would not attempt to buy or be served beverage alcohol. People would not become intoxicated to the point of endangering themselves and others, and people would not create disturbances. Unfortunately, no plan or process has been devised to convince every single person to act responsibly and rationally. There will probably always be some people who behave inappropriately and do not seem to care about endangering themselves or others. Patron responsibility is an important issue. Staff has the obligation to help customers act responsibly. As a professional, it is important that you identify practices that work for you and improve the necessary skills you need for maintaining good customer relations. Answer the following question. Let's review. As a professional in the hospitality industry, you want to create a safe and comfortable environment for your customers. Management and staff play an important part in creating the image of the establishment by clearly defining policies and procedures. Aggressive behavior is often associated with intoxication, so prevent violence by preventing intoxication. Sellers and servers need to be able to prevent situations from developing into crises by being aware of how their customers are acting and communicating with coworkers and managers. Use stop when there is trouble in an establishment. Call the police if there is violence. And you have the responsibility to help customers act Congratulations! You have completed the disturbances module. Now let's learn. Nearly all of the states in the U.S. have laws making it illegal to sell tobacco products to anyone under the age of 18, 19 in Alabama, Alaska, and Utah. Be sure to know the law as it applies to tobacco sales in your state. The minimum age law for tobacco products applies to cigarettes, snuff, chewing tobacco, cigars, or any product that contains tobacco. At the end of this module, you will be able to do the following. In this module, we will cover one lesson. Lesson 1. Tobacco Sales. The seller is responsible for checking the identification of anyone who purchases tobacco products. Selling these products to a minor violates the law. Some establishments require that anyone who looks under a certain age should be asked for ID.